What's good with y'all? Already know what time it is. We back and we got 10 most disturbing incidents caught on camera. If y'all are new to the channel, subscribe right now. Let's check it out. Viewer discretion is advised.
Echoes call from hollow halls, a voice that creeps and softly crawls. Time stands still, the air is.
Imagine scrolling through camera footage to find out why your student is complaining, only to stumble across a video that makes your skin crawl. We've all heard the stories about schools being haunted, echoes of footsteps in empty gymnasiums or lockers slamming in the dead of night. But on October 17, 2024, a security camera in an ordinary classroom captured something that turned a simple student dispute into a viral mystery with over 9 million views. It began when a teacher sat down to review footage for a completely different reason. A student had complained about being bullied. The teacher wasn't looking for the supernatural. He was looking for a troublemaker. Instead, he found a sequence of events that defied every logical explanation. While scrolling through the recordings, the teacher noticed that the motion detecting camera had been triggered repeatedly around 10 o'clock p.m., a time when the building should have been a tomb of silence. Curious, he hit play. What the lens caught wasn't a trespasser or a student pulling a prank.
Who moving the camera? I can't even talk. I gotta look back.
In the grainy, low-light footage of the empty room, a transparent white figure suddenly materializes from thin air. It doesn't walk or move like a human. It simply appears, hangs in the static for a moment, and then vanishes. Seconds later, it flickers back into existence on the opposite side of the room, playing a chilling game of hide-and-seek with the sensors. The most disturbing detail isn't just the figure itself, but the behavior of the hardware. The teacher pointed out that the camera wasn't just glitching, it appeared to be actively tracking the entity, panning and tilting to follow its movements as it bypassed physical walls. The classroom was no longer just a place of learning, it felt occupied by something that didn't belong in our timeline. Some of you might dismiss it as a digital artifact or a trick of the light, but the way the motion sensors locked onto the creature suggests a physical presence that the camera could feel, even if we can't. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments. Before we continue, do you remember we set a goal to hit 250,000 subscribers by April? Well, we didn't fully get there. Big goal. But this time, if you're watching, and now, we've all seen the back to the video. We've all seen the Hollywood version of a haunting, chandeliers crashing, furniture flying across the room, and dramatic music cues. But in the real world, the most unsettling moments are often the ones that happen during the most mundane activities. This footage, uploaded by TikTok user NametNVJ on February 5th, 2022, captured by a home security camera on an ordinary evening, shows a small family gathering. The house is decorated, music is playing faintly in the background, and a young girl is sitting on the couch, completely relaxed. It's a scene of domestic normalcy that is interrupted in a way that feels both quiet and deeply wrong. Without any warning, a plastic cup sitting on a nearby table suddenly launches into the air. It doesn't just tip over, it's propelled upward, as if swiped by an unseen hand, before crashing loudly onto the hardwood floor. The girl's reaction is instantaneous. She whips her head around in total shock, her body language shifting from relaxed to fight or flight in a split second. As she stands up to bolt from the room, the camera catches a second anomaly. A balloon behind her begins to drift and wobble violently, as if someone or something had just brushed past it in a hurry.
Nah, bro.
What makes this clip particularly chilling is the lack of reaction from anyone else in the house. Despite the loud crash of the cup, no one comes running, and no one else is visible in the frame. This isolation creates a heavy sense of dread, leaving the viewer to wonder if the girl was the only one who could feel the shift in the room's energy. We can't tell if it was a clever setup involving fishing line, or a true paranormal activity involving a poltergeist. If your own decorations started moving on their own tonight, would you stay to find the string? Or would you follow this girl's lead and get out? Let us know your theory in the comments. We've all seen the grainy, low-resolution footage from the early days of mobile phones. Videos where the pixels are so thick they seem to vibrate. Usually the poor quality is just a nuisance. But in this clip from 2020, the distortion hides something that should not exist. The video was filmed in the year 2020 by a user named Strahanshok. In the poor, grainy video taken by an old phone, you can see the two children playing happily in the room. There was laughter, the sound of toys clattering, and the general warmth of a family home. Unknown to the uploader, he was about to accidentally film something disturbing and unexplainable to the ordinary eye. As the father panned the camera across the room, the lens accidentally caught a figure that had no business being in a house full of children. You can almost see something that looks like a terrifying entity briefly manifesting. It possesses a humanoid shape, but its features are twisted into a grotesque, impossible anatomy. The most disturbing part of the creature was its mouth. It had an oversized, gaping void that seemed to stretch across its entire face. It doesn't move or interact with the boys. It simply exists in that space for a fraction of a second. Then, in the blink of an eye, it vanishes back into the static of the low-quality recording. The father didn't notice the intruder while he was filming. It wasn't until later, when he was reviewing the footage to relive the memory, that he realized that a real ghostly and demonic entity was just inches away from where his children were playing. Do you think it was really a ghost, or could it have been a trick of the lightning? Let me know in the comments.
I don't know.
We're told that children are more sensitive to the world around them, that they see the things adults have learned to tune out. But for one mother in England, her 3-year-old daughter's imaginary friend turned out to be something far more predatory. It started shortly after they moved into an old house, a place that was supposed to be a fresh start. Within a month, the little girl's behavior shifted. She began talking about a figure she called Bad Head and Bad Eyes, claiming he lived upstairs and watched her.
What is it?
Like eyes.
Bad eyes?
Yeah.
Where?
Eyes.
Upstairs. Nope, no, we're not doing this.
It's the kind of thing that sends a chill down any parent's spine, but the mother initially tried to dismiss it as a toddler's overactive imagination, until the fear in her daughter's voice became impossible to ignore. Desperate to understand what was happening, the mother installed a security camera in the hallway. One night, the footage posted on her page on TikTok on October 17, 2024, captured a chilling interaction. As they moved through the house, the little girl suddenly froze, her eyes locking onto a corner of the ceiling that appeared completely empty to the camera. She began to cry, describing two eyes staring back at her. In an attempt to de-escalate the situation and keep her daughter calm, the mother tried to play along, calling the entity a funny friend or Mr. Soldier Man. But the more she tried to normalize the situation, the more the atmosphere in the house seemed to thicken.
Mom, yak,
What is it?
yak,
What?
yak,
Scared of what? Is someone there?
yak, yak, eyes, 2 eyes.
The most disturbing detail of the recording isn't just the child's reaction, but what the microphone picked up. As the mother comforted her daughter, a heavy, rhythmic breathing sound filled the audio, a sound that didn't belong to either of them. It was loud, mechanical, and seemed to be coming from directly next to the camera lens. The mother, paralyzed by the sound but trying to remain brave for her child, realized in that moment that they weren't alone. The bad eyes her daughter had been warning her about wasn't just a nightmare, it was a presence that had been following them from room to room. Since that night, the sense of security they once felt in the home has completely vanished. The mother is now convinced that the house is host to a spirit that has taken a specific, terrifying interest in her daughter. It raises a haunting question. If your child started talking to the corners of the room, would you listen to their warnings, or would you wait until you heard the breathing for yourself? Let us know what you think in the comments below. We're told that a home is a sanctuary, a place where the walls are supposed to keep the chaos of the outside world at bay. But on a quiet evening in June 2023, for a mother and her children in Escambia County, Florida, those walls became a trap. The footage from their doorbell camera doesn't show a stranger lurking in the shadows. It shows a man who felt he was above the law, arriving at a house he was legally forbidden from entering. He wasn't there for a conversation, and he wasn't there to apologize. He was there for a confrontation, and he brought his rage right to their front door. The audio from that night is chilling. A 54-year-old man, a face the family knew all too well, stood on the porch screaming, "You want to play? Let's play." Each kick to the door was more aggressive than the last, shaking the entire frame and shattering the sense of security the family had fought to build. This was a man who had already been served with an injunction, a legal barrier a judge had put in place because of his history of violence. But as he shattered the wood and forced his way over the threshold, it became clear that a piece of paper couldn't stop him. The moment he was inside, the kitchen became the source of a new threat. He immediately grabbed a knife, his intentions turning lethal with terrifying speed. The mother, backed into a corner with her children, realized that the life she had been trying to protect was now on the line. She retreated, creating whatever space she could, but the house offered nowhere left to run. As he advanced, armed and volatile, the situation shifted from a domestic dispute to a desperate fight for survival. In a single, life-altering second, she did the only thing she could to ensure she and her children would see the morning. She fired a shot. When deputies arrived, they found the intruder dead inside the home he had forced his way into. The investigation that followed was swift. Investigators reviewed the broken door, the weapon, and the long paper trail of domestic violence injunctions. The conclusion of the Escambia County Sheriff was absolute. This wasn't a crime. It was an act of pure survival. Perhaps the most haunting detail is the irony the sheriff pointed out. That very day, the man was supposed to be attending an anger management class. Instead, he chose to let his anger boil over until it cost him his life. The mother did not chase him. She did not provoke him. She stood her ground only when the danger was already inside her home. In the aftermath, officials in Pensacola emphasized that while the ending was tragic, the woman's actions were the only thing that stood between her children and an unimaginable nightmare. It's a sobering look at how quickly a life can change, and why, for some, the front door is the final line of defense. If you were in her position, when would you decide that the only way to survive is to fight back?
I mean, shit, self-defense, shit. I mean, she ain't do nothing wrong. That nigga tried to break in, bro. That's shit. I mean, it's self-defense, bro.
Most of us have a routine for when we get home. A familiar sequence of reaching for our keys, balancing a drink in one hand, and thinking about the family waiting on the other side of the door. For a homeowner in a quiet Los Angeles neighborhood, that routine was exactly what masked predators were counting on. In late 2023, just as the sun had dipped below the horizon, this father was seconds away from his front door, holding a warm cup of tea and looking forward to seeing his wife and 5-month-old baby. He didn't know that from the shadows of the street, he was being watched. The surveillance footage captures the chilling speed of the escalation. As the man approached his gate, one figure clad in black and wearing a mask approached him. Before the homeowner could even turn his key, he felt a sudden, heavy weight against his back, and the unmistakable, cold press of a pistol barrel. What happened next is a masterclass in survival instinct. When most people would freeze, this father's mind went straight to his infant child, wife, and the nanny inside. He knew that if these men got past him, his family would be defenseless. In one fluid motion, he flung his hot tea at his attacker, creating a split second of distraction. He didn't use that time to run, he used it to draw his own firearm. The attackers, who expected an easy victim, suddenly found themselves staring down the barrel of a man with everything to lose. The chaos that followed was brief but intense. As the homeowner opened fire, the power dynamic shifted completely. The intruders, who just seconds ago were the predators, scrambled in a blind panic. One dived over a side fence, firing wildly and blindly into the air as he fled, while another attacker sprinted back over the front gate, vanishing into the Los Angeles night. In less than 10 seconds, a coordinated home invasion had been dismantled by a single person's refusal to be a victim. When the LAPD arrived to process the scene, the homeowner was remarkably composed. He made it clear that there was nothing material in that house worth a shootout. No watch or piece of jewelry was worth his life, but his family was irreplaceable. He acted out of a sense of pure parental responsibility, standing as the final barrier between his child and the violence outside. This footage just goes to show how things can turn deadly in a matter of minutes. We've all experienced that fleeting moment of doubt, a sound in the hallway you can't quite place, or a glass that seems to have shifted an inch since you last looked at it. Most of us shrug it off as a trick of the mind, but for a woman named Celsa Ann, those small doubts grew into a weeks-long haunting that no one in her life believed was real. She claimed that objects in her home were moving on their own, and that the atmosphere had turned heavy and unpredictable. In a TikTok video posted on April 20th, 2022, you can hear Celsa opening the drawers to show that there was no mechanism causing the strange activity. One afternoon, while home alone with only her dog for company,
I'm gonna make sure that you see nothing because this is really creepy. I'm so over it.
she decided to pull out her phone. She wasn't looking to create a viral video. She was looking for proof that she wasn't losing her mind. Then Celsa walks backward from the room with her dog wandering the room, seemingly oblivious, until the silence of the kitchen is broken by a mechanical creak. Right in front of her lens, a heavy wooden drawer begins to slide open. There are no strings, no slanted floors, and no one else in the room. Just the slow, deliberate movement of a drawer being pulled by an invisible hand. Just as she begins to process the first movement, another drawer shifts again, sliding further out as if to confirm that whatever is in the room with her wants to be noticed. The reaction is raw and immediate. Celsa panics, her voice shaking as she states that she cannot wait for John to get home. The validation of her fear is almost as terrifying as the event itself.
Come on, John, hurry up and get home.
She even begs the entity to please stop.
Bro, I don't see no strings either. Or am I tripping? I don't see no strings.
Hurry up and get home.
She even begs the entity to please stop. In the video, she also said that sometimes the water comes on, or objects get thrown on the counter.
Can you stop, please? Sometimes things get thrown off the counter, sometimes the water gets turned on.
Fast forward a few seconds. The drawers close by themselves again. It is a classic display of poltergeist activity, a physical manipulation of the environment that leaves no fingerprints and no logical trail. If your own furniture started responding to your presence, would you stay to see what else it could do? That thought alone.
Hell nah, boy. I'll be out of there, boy. I'm selling that house. I'll be gone.
Furniture started responding to your presence. Would you stay to see what else it could do?
No.
That thought alone is extremely terrifying. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. There is a specific kind of dread that only a parent can truly understand. The kind that settles in when the house is supposed to be silent and your child is safely tucked away in bed. For a mother named Sarah, a quiet evening on the couch turned into a haunting digital record of the impossible. It began with a faint, melodic chime drifting from the hallway, a musical sound that was instantly recognizable, yet completely out of place. It was her daughter's toy, a plaything that required manual interaction to function, and it was currently active in a room that should have been quiet. Sarah grabbed her phone, the lens shaking slightly as she moved toward the source of the noise. As she pushed open the door, the camera captured a sight that defied logic. The toy wasn't just playing, it was standing perfectly upright in the center of the room, performing a sequence of movements and sounds that Sarah's daughter hadn't even mastered yet. Sarah moved into the room and turned on the light. Her daughter had been fast asleep for over 2 hours, yet the room felt electric, as if someone, or something was in the middle of a private performance. Sarah immediately checked on her child, finding her still lost in deep sleep, oblivious to the mechanical life sparking just a few feet away. But the physical manipulation of the toy was only the beginning. As Sarah continued to record, trying to rationalize the malfunction, the haunting took a technological turn. Without any warning or low battery alert, her heart rate monitor, a device she relied on for her own health, suddenly drained to zero and died. It was a total energy depletion in a matter of seconds, a phenomenon often reported in high-intensity paranormal encounters where entities are said to draw power from surrounding electronics. The footage ends with Sarah in a state of visible panic, the realization dawning on her that the glitch might actually be a presence. Was this a series of bizarre electronic failures, or was an unseen guest using the nursery as a playground? The transition from a child's toy to a personal medical device being drained suggests an escalation that still can't be explained. When the things designed to keep us safe and entertained start acting on their own, the home stops being a sanctuary. What did you think about this video? Let me know what in the comments. Driving on the highway at night has its dangers, but the truly terrifying thing about this particular night driving is that it tends to play tricks on the mind. Between the hypnotic hum of the tires and the rhythmic passing of mile markers, the darkness beyond your headlights can start to feel like a living thing, showing what it feels like to encounter something truly disturbing while driving at night. For a couple driving through the Russian city of Kirov, the darkness didn't just feel alive, it manifested. While traveling along a desolate stretch of road, their dashcam captured a sequence of events that would eventually go viral on national news, leaving viewers across the globe questioning the physical laws of our world. In the footage, the road ahead appears completely empty, a gray ribbon of pavement cutting through the blackness of the Russian outskirts. Then, without a flicker of warning, a figure appears directly in the center of the lane. There was no one walking on the shoulder, no movement from the tree line, just the instantaneous arrival of a tall, upright shape. The driver, acting on pure reflex, swerved violently to avoid a collision, the car lurching as the headlights swept across the entity. It's in those few frames of illuminated chaos that the encounter shifts from a near miss to something deeply disturbing. When you slow the video down, the figure reveals itself to be anything but human. It appears translucent, almost shimmering against the dark asphalt, with no discernible clothing or facial features. It stands with a strange, unnatural rigidity, appearing more like a tear in the fabric of the night than a person of flesh and bone. Even more chilling is the fact that it seemed to materialize out of nowhere, as if it had been standing in another dimension and simply stepped into ours for a fraction of a second. Whether it was a ghost, a visitor from somewhere else, or a glitch in reality, the footage remains a haunting reminder of how vulnerable we are when we're behind the wheel. The couple escaped the encounter without a scratch, but they left that highway with a new understanding of what hides in the dark. What did you think about this encounter? Let me know in the comments. We're often told that our homes are our fortresses, but we rarely think about the vulnerability of a single pane of glass. For one mother in Arlington, Florida, the comfort of her apartment off University Boulevard was shattered not by a break-in, but by the terrifying realization that she was being watched. It was early June 2023, a typical Thursday night filled with a low hum of cartoons and a game of Pokemon with her young daughter. Her boyfriend was upstairs, the children were winding down, and the world felt safe, until a notification on her phone changed everything. When she opened the security alert, she expected to see a stray cat or a neighbor passing by. Instead, she saw a man standing inches from her window, staring directly into her living room. Most prowlers flee when they spot a camera, but this man didn't flinch. He remained perfectly still, his face eerily blank and emotionless, watching the family as if he were part of the furniture. The true horror, however, was waiting in the camera's history. When she reviewed the footage from the previous night, she found a clip that made her blood run cold. There she was, fast asleep on the couch, completely unaware that the same man had been standing at that exact window for 15 minutes. He had watched her sleep while her boyfriend sat just one floor above, separated from a potential predator by nothing but a thin sheet of glass. It wasn't a one-time occurrence. He was returning like he was clocking into a job, lingering longer with each visit and staring defiantly into the lens. By his third visit, the man's behavior shifted. He began looking around more carefully, his movements suggesting he knew he had been spotted and was now scouting for a way in.
Bro, this dude is a weirdo, bro.
He never knocked and never spoke. It was his absolute silence that the mother described as the most haunting part of the encounter. Terrified, she contacted the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. A crucial detail in the footage gave them a lead. The man was wearing a distinctive work shirt with a company logo. Soon, neighbors and even alleged co-workers began reaching out, recognizing the uniform and the man's habit of wandering the complex. The mother now lives with her curtains permanently drawn, her life dictated by the high alert settings on her surveillance system. She often thinks about the what ifs. What if she hadn't installed the camera? What if she hadn't checked her phone that Thursday night? She would have continued living in a house where a stranger was a silent participant in her family's most private moments. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't the threat that kicks down the door, but the one that stands perfectly still just outside the glass, waiting for the lights to go out.
Man, bro. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments about this video, and also comment down below what y'all think I should react to next. If y'all are new to the channel, subscribe right now. I love y'all. Stay blessed. And we out here. See y'all in the next one.